He's known as the Wizard. He's the Astros Hall of Famer. He's a 3-time All-Star and ERA title holder, and he won the NLCS MVP, leading the Astros to their first World Series appearance in franchise history, a winner of 163 career games while amassing 1,852 strikeouts. Join us as we sit down with the Mississippi Kid, Roy Oswalt. Let's go right now.
Jainel Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros. We hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talkstros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok, at Stros411 on X and on Facebook, and at Back to the Bullpen with Mike Stanton on X, on Instagram, and on YouTube and iHeartRadio, where I'm always positive, always Stros. And we got the man with us, Roy Oswalt. Listen, you need to follow him. If you're on X, go to Roy Oswalt 44net, give him a follow. And guess what? He's on Instagram. That's right. Roy Oswalt is at the Roy Oswalt on Instagram. Give him a follow. We are going to tell y'all about a venture he has going right now, and we're going to get into it. Roy, first of all, thank you for joining Locked On Astros. You're our third Astros Hall of Famer to join the show with the likes of Phil Garner and Terry Poole. The fans have been chomping at the bit to have you on here. Thank you for joining us. Oh, you got him. There you go. All right, Roy. So you know, you were drafted out of Holmes Community College. You grew up in a small town. How did where you were from help you become one of the best to put on an Astros uniform?
Well, you know, coming from a small town, any town you go to, from 500 people is usually bigger. Doesn't matter where you go. But, you know, growing up in a small town, the good thing about it is, you know, everyone kind of knows you. A lot of people are rooting for you. I didn't get a lot of exposure coming out of high school. I went to a 1A school. I think I had 31 students in my class. We didn't have a baseball team until my sophomore year, and my dad actually pushed that to get a baseball team. At my school. We were a real big football powerhouse. I think we had 6 NFL players come out of our school, even though we were small. So we were a real big football school. Got a baseball team my sophomore year, which was 1992, and kind of took off. We went to the playoffs first year. The funny thing, back when I played, different than now, there wasn't such a thing as a pitch count. You know, growing up, you threw until the game was over. No one counted the pitches. So being able to do that, you was able to manage games a lot better, you know, knowing that, hey, I'm only got 80 pitches. I only have 70 pitches. I'm trying to get through, and you worry about your pitch count. Next thing you know, your pitch count gets up, a guy fouls off balls, or walk a guy, whatever. With me, I knew I was going to be out there until the end of the game. So there was a lot of games. I don't know how many pitches I threw, but I'm sure, you know, I'm probably threw in the hundreds, you know, some games. My senior year, I pitched every game for my high school team. I pitched every Monday and Thursday.
Wow.
So we didn't have another pitcher. I was the pitcher.
Wow.
I think we ended up playing 16 games my senior year, and I pitched all 16 of them. So when I left high school, the only scholarship I had was to Holmes Community College. One of the reasons, like I said, we were a small school. Nobody really knew who I was or you know, that we even had a team until my sophomore year. So I got a chance to play a junior college ball. I was already smaller than most of the pitchers, 5'11", 6 foot, weighed 150 pounds, 155 pounds. When I went to junior college, I started growing a little bit and started maturing a little more. I graduated when I was 17. So I was a little young when I graduated. So my first year in junior college, I was 18 years old. When I got in junior college, I was throwing 90, 91, you know, my first year. And we started doing really workouts for baseball instead of doing football workouts. We did baseball workouts, and a lot different lifting, a lot different running, a lot more stuff for pitchers. And my velocity just shot up. I started throwing 97, 98 my first year at the end of it, and then I was drafted by the Houston Astros in the 23rd round my first year in junior college. But I decided to go back and play another year. I was a 23rd rounder. Wasn't offered much money. It was just kind of a guy, hey, you want to come try it? Small guy from Mississippi. If you make it, you make it. If you don't, you don't. I said, well, I'd rather go another year of college and see how it goes. So went back to college my sophomore year, was drafted, was actually in my time, there was a thing called draft and follow, where a team could draft you your first year and have your rights all the way up till the next draft. And that was kind of an insurance policy for the players, so that, say, halfway through the year you got hurt, you could go ahead and accept what they offered you and let them fix your arm or whatever went wrong and still get a chance at pro ball. So I signed a draft and follow, and the day before I went out of Houston's rights, I signed with Houston that year, the same year Lance Berkman did in 97. So was drafted out of Holmes, and then hit the minor leagues, and spent 4 years in the minor leagues before I got my chance in the big leagues.
Nice.
So to kind of a follow-up question to that, Roy, where were you? And back in those days, back in 1996, how did you find out you were drafted by the Houston Astros?
I actually got a call on the phone by the scout that was looking at me. I had an older scout that had been around for a while, and he had actually scouted and signed J.R. Richards out of Louisiana. And his name was James Fair. He'd been around baseball 40 or 50 years, and everybody, looked up to him. He saw a lot of talent. He came to almost every one of my starts in junior college, and really liked what I did and how I prepared on, off the field, and how I threw it during the game for us. I've always been the type of guy. I went straight after guys. I never, try to pick the corners or anything like that. I looked at a spot and challenged the guy in that spot. And I felt like if I could, beat him to that spot, that I was either going to get him hit it off the end of the bat or hit it off the handle, one of the two. And I felt like I could beat him there if I had a concentration, to go to a spot. And I never really walked a lot of guys. Most of the years I threw 200 something innings, I would have, 40 walks, 50 walks at the most, and try to challenge everybody.
Roy, you were known as the Bulldog. I mean, people called you. You had that Bulldog mentality. Yeah,
I try to take that on the mound because I grew up. I watched Nolan when I could watch those games on TV, and I love that demeanor on the mound. Where, hey, you're standing in my box, you get close to that plate, I'm going to knock you down. And even though Nolan was a little bit bigger than I was, I try to take that same mentality where, I'm going to own one part of the plate. You're not going to own both sides of the plate. I may give you the inside part of the plate, but if you start diving out over the outside part of the plate, then I'm going to knock you down. And that's the way I played. And you had to have that respect from the hitters, or guys will take advantage of you and be able to protect both sides of the plate. So I try to always take one side of the plate and own it. And if they didn't want me to own it, I kind of made them. There are a lot of guys that told a lot of stories. I was headhunter and stuff like that. I wasn't a headhunter. I never threw at anybody intentionally. I threw at a lot of guys inside to knock them back, to let them know that, hey, if you reach out over there, you may get hit. But I wasn't throwing at the guy to hit him on an intentional, but some of these guys didn't believe it, and then they stretched out there and they got hit.
Oops.
I do believe that your debut, you came out of the bullpen, and I think you faced Vladimir Guerrero and you struck him out. What was that like when you first made your debut with Astros?
So when I first got called up, I was in AAA. I had thrown for, I think, 4 or 5 games in AAA, and I think I was around maybe 3-2 or 4-1, something like that. But my ERA was like a 3.6 or 3.7, and in AAA, the manager always has a phone right beside him, and when it rings, somebody either getting called up or somebody got released. It's nothing in between. It's one of the two. So the phone rang during the game, and I had thrown the day before. and I've thrown okay. I threw 6 innings. I think I've gave up 3 runs, but in my eyes, that wasn't that great. And at this day and time, everybody claps for that. But in my time, that wasn't a great start. A great start is 7 innings, 1 run, or 8 innings, 2 runs. But back, now it's a little different atmosphere. But so the phone rang. So I didn't even look down to, see who it was. I was thinking, somebody got called up. It's not me. I got a 3.4 ERA. That's not good enough to get in the big leagues. Well, he calls me. He said, "Hey, I need to see you downstairs." I'm thinking, I just got released. I thought I got released. So I'm walking down thinking, oh my God, I just, what I'm going to do now? I just got released from minor leagues. And he said, "Hey, you need to pack your stuff. You're going to Montreal in the morning." And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" It was a shock. And I remember on the plane going to Montreal thinking, please don't crash. Just give me one day, in the big leagues. Don't crash on the way there. Just give me one day. And
you didn't want to be like a Richie Valens or one of those guys, like
Moonlight
the
Graham.
legend.
Yeah, just give me one day. You work so hard all your life thinking that, you may get a chance. And when you that close to it, you just think, let me just get one day under my belt. But I came into clubhouse, we had some really good veteran players at the time. Shane Reynolds, Jose Lima had won, I think, 20 or something the year before in the Dome in '99. And we had Baggy, Big Joy, Bagwell and Biggio. And we had a really
Hampton is still there, right?
Who?
Mike Hampton, or was he gone?
Yeah, Mike Hampton had left. He had got, I think he went to the Mets the year before I got there. I got to play with him late in my career, but he wasn't there when I got there. But they had called me up because Jose was having a hard time pitching in the new stadium. Mm. And they said, "Hey, we're going to call you up. We're going to put you in a bullpen and get your feet wet. You're going to be a mop-up guy. You probably won't come in the game unless we're winning by a lot or losing by a lot." I said, "Hey, man, as long as I get to eat the spread up here and I don't have to eat that minor league spread, I do whatever you guys want me to do." So,
all right, guys.
Yeah, the minor league spread, that peanut butter and jelly, man, it was wearing on me. So the first game, we're winning by a lot. I think we're winning like freaking 14-2 or something. And I've always been a starter my whole life. I've never pitched in a bullpen. And they called down and said, "Hey, you're going in the 8th inning." And like I'm sitting there, I'm having picked up a ball, haven't stretched, haven't done anything. I'm just taking in the night, which there wasn't a whole lot of people there. I think it was 7,000 people in Montreal, So I get up and I start trying to warm up real quick with Mike Jackson, which had been in the bullpen for a long time at the time, that pitched with Cleveland. He said, "Hey, I'm going to get up the same time. And if I get warm, I'll get warm. And if you're not warm, don't come in and hurt yourself. I get an out and you can come in." I said, "Okay." Well, I get on the mound and Mike Jackson throws 4 pitches. And he's like, "All right, I'm ready." I'm like, "What?" So, I'm trying to get warm. I'm throwing, fast I can throw. Well, we get 3 outs really quick. And he goes out there and he said, "Hey, I get 1 out. You come out there." He goes out there and throws 3 pitches and gets through the 8th inning. And I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Well, now I know I'm going to be ready for the 9th, but I'm like, that's unbelievable. So I got ready for the 9th and went out, and it just lined up where, Guerrero comes up. I think he's maybe the first or second batter or something like that. And I knew I knew Guerrero swung at a lot of pitches. And if I could elevate the ball, that I had pretty good ride that night because of adrenaline. And once I got 2 strikes on him, I was going to go after him hard, and I was going to try to get him to swing at something out of his own. And sure enough, he swung at a ball, up by his chest, and that was a signature pitch that I had a lot through my career with Houston, where I got a lot of guys to chase that, a high fastball. It's hard to catch up to.
Well, that's awesome. I like the fact that you just kind of walked us through not only just what happened there, but what led up to it. So, guys, we're going to have more of a conversation with Roy Oswalt in a second. Guys, thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go and check us out.
This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Go to Game Time today. Download the app. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. It may not be baseball season, but it doesn't matter because any event in your area, especially Houston, you can get great tickets, great seats, great views, and all for one low price. Look, there is no surprise. There's no gotcha at the end of the transactions. So go to Game Time today. You know, I've downloaded the app. Flash deals, zone deals, all-in-one pricing, seat views, the lowest price guaranteed. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry, and they will credit you 110% the difference if you find tickets in the same row and same section for a cheaper price. You got to download Game Time today. I've used it. You know you've got to use it. If you haven't, why not do it now? That's right. This is your chance to get in on all the great action. Go to Game Time today. Lowest ticket price guaranteed. It's Game Time.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go and check us out. Go and subscribe to us. Help us get to 15,000 subscribers. I know it's off season, but we'll be here for you. And we got Roy Oswalt here, Astros legend. I remember watching a lot of games, especially during the playoffs, the World Series, everything like that. We're going to talk later with him about what it was like going to the World Series with the Astros, first time in franchise history. But there's definitely a lot of pitchers. You kind of mentioned some names. Shane Reynolds was always a favorite of mine. Of course, you were too. But Shane Reynolds was just he didn't rely on the fast stuff, and so he was kind of one of those location pitchers. But you pitched with a whole bunch of different guys. Roger Clemens. Was there any particular one that when you first came up you kind of learned a lot from?
Well, like I said, when I first came up, I was in the bullpen for a couple of months. I didn't really start until June, and I was in the bullpen, I think, right around 2 months. So Billy Wagner was a closer when I came up, and out of everybody in the bullpen, I probably learned more from Billy than anybody on how to get ready, what to look for. I've never pitched out of the bullpen before. He said, hey, this is what you're trying to do. It's different from a starter. You're not trying to throw all 4 pitches. Take your 2 best pitches, and you're going to probably face 3 to 6 batters, in 2 innings, and, go right after them. Don't put guys on because you're going to come in the game where it's either close or tie game. You need to get in and get quick outs and get out of there. Don't go out there and try to pitch and set guys up for later in the game, with 4 pitches. Just take your 2 best pitches. So I kind of scrapped 2 of my pitches when I was in the bullpen and went fastball curveball most of the time. And I would sink a fastball, route a 4-seamer, but pretty much a 2-pitch pitcher, just like Billy was, and learned more from him on how to get ready for the bullpen than anyone. And then once I moved into the starting rotation, Shane was a veteran guy there. He kind of said, hey, this is what you're looking for when you're going into the game. You got a plan going in, but you don't always have to stick with your plan. If you see something that's working for you, that's not on a sheet of paper for us, a scouting report or whatever, go to your strengths. Don't go with just because, this guy may hit, only 200 on a slider where he may hit 400 with your slider, but he may only hit 150 with your curveball. So, kind of fill the game out. They don't know you. So be aggressive with them and, challenge them in the zone because they don't really know what you have. It's going to take, a lot of bats to understand how you pitch. And my first year, I was really, challenging guys a lot because they've never seen me before. And I was getting through a lot of games, deep into games because I was able to challenge the strike zone, and guys was trying to look at pitches and kind of see what they look like. And the next thing you know, they're 0-2 or 1-2, and now they're swinging at a pitch I want them to swing at.
So you were 14-3 your rookie campaign. I mean, that's a stellar record. These days, you got the firebrand guys like the Paul Skeens. The Astros have had their guys, Luis Garcia, come up their first year, Hunter Brown, just significant pitchers. And you were surrounded by the Limas, the Wagners, the Reynolds, Dotel, and all those guys. In your rookie year, as you had more and more success, was it harder and harder to stay focused, or did it help you just dial in more because it just became more, you got more and more used to it?
Well, like I said, my first year, I think I only started 20 games, and I got to win 14 out of them, and I got on a kind of roll there where, like I said, I kind of listened to Shane saying they don't know you, don't pick around the zone and get behind them, be aggressive.
Right.
And I've always pitched that way, so it worked to my advantage, getting ahead of guys. The worst thing you can do in the big leagues as a young guy is start looking at names on the back of the jersey. And that's where guys get caught up at. They see these names that they see on ESPN or Baseball Tonight, hitting home runs, and they think, oh my God, if I throw it over the plate, he's going to hit the ball out of the park. They never show him striking out 6 times in a row on SportsCenter. They only show the home runs. So The good thing about me is, like I was saying, growing up, I didn't see a lot of baseball games on TV. We didn't have we didn't have satellite. We had 3 channels growing up.
Right.
So we had game of the week. So a lot of times I would actually face guys that were really good players I didn't know nothing about.
Roy's like, who are you?
Yeah, I didn't really, I told Jeff Bagwell this when I got up. I never really knew who Jeff Bagwell was until I got to minor leagues.
Wow.
I just didn't, it wasn't where I was from. So I treated everyone the same. It doesn't matter who came up to the plate. I was going to throw to my strengths, and you had to beat me. I wasn't going to let you beat me because of your name on the back of your jersey. And that's the same thing with Vladimir. I knew Vladimir when I came up, and I knew he was a great player. But I had saw, different clips of him swinging at pitches that bounce and stuff like that. So I'm thinking, all right, if I can get ahead of you, I'm going to make you swing at a bad pitch and try to get you out on a bad pitch and not get you out on a strike. So little things like that helped along the way. And I remember I did an interview one time with Rick Sutcliffe, and I've never heard of Rick Sutcliffe in my life until I did the interview. And when I left there, I remember Lance Berkman asked me, he said, hey, do you know who that is? I said, no, I've never heard of some guy named Rick. And he goes, did you know he pitched in the big leagues? And I said, no, I didn't. They just asked me to do a sit-down interview with him before the game, and I did one. He said he won a Cy Young with the Cubs. And I said, oh, really? I said, that's cool. I didn't get caught up in looking at people's names and stuff like that. And I think that helped a lot being a young guy. I was 22, 23 years old when I first came up, and I had a lot of veterans on the team. There wasn't a lot of young guys. Wade Miller and I was probably the youngest guy on the team. And, Wade had just came up the year before me and done real well. And he was pitching real well in 01 too.
So I know during your time with the Astros, y'all went to the playoffs a lot. Was Game 6 of the was NLCS back then?
Yes.
Clinching that game, was that your fondest memory, or is there anything else that really stands out in your playoff career with the Astros?
Out of my big league career, that was probably the game that finally people realized that I was a starter for the Houston Astros, other than the players that played against me, because you get caught in behind people's names, like when Roger and Andy came in, they already had the status. They have already had World Series rings. They've had a lot of innings in the big leagues, and they're Hall of Fame players. So the good thing about me, I was able to slide in kind of behind them and let them answer the questions and do the dance. And I just sit back there and try to win games. And I didn't have to worry about, doing the dance like they had to do before. So it helped me a lot kind of being in the shadows of them. And then watching Roger and Andy, how they prepared for a game, was mind blowing, because I've never seen anybody get ready the way they got ready for spring training, the workouts, the way they study the game, the way they study hitters, and the way they went about their business between the 4 days between you start. And if you'll go back and look at my career, I did win 19 in 2002. But in 2003, I had an injury and I only pitched 20 starts. But then in 2004, when Roger, them, and Andy got there, I made a mission that they want to go out pitch me. And I tried to say, all right, if they're throwing 200 innings, I'm gonna throw 210. If they throw 230, I'm gonna throw 240. Wow. And I was able to do that, all 3 years they got there, that I tried to stay with them, and they paced me the whole way, and they built me to perform that way. And if they wasn't there pushing me that way, I don't know if I would have won 20 games in 04 and 05 and won the ERA title in 06. It was those guys.
It was stellar watching y'all three. I mean, that good Lord, that rotation is just, that is a fantasy baseball. Like that's a haven, because like you said, 14 wins, 19 wins, 20 wins, 208 strikeouts. I mean, you were in the Cy Young vote several years. I went and looked. You did hit one home run in your career. Okay. Before you hit that home run, I'm just telling you, I have proof that you can hit home runs, because Roy, I still have this ball that you hit in batting practice in LCS Game 5. I know Houston fans don't like talking about it. Eric was also there. We didn't know each other. I was sitting in 419, I think row 17 or something like that. Before that, I was in the Crawford boxes. You hit 8 home runs, and I counted them into the Crawford boxes. And this is one of them. Says Roy Oswalt, batting practice home run, BP, Game 5 NLCS, October 17th, 2005.
I told him I should have been in a home run derby because I can hit at 5 o'clock. It's just 7 o'clock was a lot harder.
You could. That day, everybody in the Crawford boxes was like, man, maybe Roy should pinch hit today.
Yeah. But probably nobody knows this here unless you guys were at the game. I got two pinch hits off the bench when I was playing. One was in Houston,
okay,
of Looper from St. Louis. Looper, I think it was. Anyway, he was a big sinker baller. Late in the game, it was like 11th or 12th inning. We had nobody left. I forgot who was pitcher, the bullpen guy, and we was going to change pitchers to another bullpen guy. They said, hey, we need somebody to hit. I said, I'll hit. Give me the bat. I hit a double down the line, and I missed first base. So at the time, I was going to be 1,000 at pinch hitting with a double off the bench in Houston. And then the next one I got was in Philly. And I think the 13th or 14th inning, I played left field for Philly, and I ended the game on a ground ball to third base against Houston. Actually,
wow,
I'm 0-2 on pinch hitting, but I did get a hit. I would have been 500 off the bench, by the way.
That's awesome to hear. Like maybe like if you go back in time and just touch first base, guys. We're gonna go and continue this conversation next on the Locked On Astros podcast. All right, guys, thank you for making the Locked On Astros podcast your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check us out. We're back here with Roy Oswalt. We are talking about playoff experience, playoff memories, and I know that it's hard to say, the 25 World Series, we had so much hope going into it. It was the first time the Astros got to the World Series. You're playing the White Sox. It's like, oh, we got this. We got this dynamic rotation, and they don't really have the rotation we do. The Astros hitters weren't really quite as good back in the day, and you had I think Bagwell kind of just playing injured at that point. The offense didn't really do much, but what do you remember specifically about that World Series?
Honestly, after we got by St. Louis in 2005, we thought we were going to win it. We felt like we had the team to win it, and we as a starting three between Roger and Andy and I, we felt like if they could give us 3 to 4 runs, we were going to win the game. And they did give me 3 or 4 runs, and I should have won my game. Honestly, I threw 8 innings or 7 innings or something like that and came out tied. I think it was 3-3 or 4-4. I can't remember the exact score, but I think they scored only maybe 1 for Roger and maybe 1 or 2 for Andy or something. And I think we lost the game late in the game off a grand slam. One of them, a solo shot, one of them. And then, it was just little things here and there. It didn't fall our way, but we got so close. I tell everybody, I have every ring that you can have growing up. I have a high school ring. I have a semi-pro ring or summer league ring or whatever you want to call it. I have an A-ball, a AA, a AAA, a National League ring. The only one I lack is the World Series ring. And I got really close with Houston that year. And then I had another chance with Philly that we got beat out right before the World Series with the Giants when they won it. But, the team we had there, we had a tremendous starting pitching. I mean, we had 3 guys that threw over 200 innings. Right. We actually had 4 guys. I think Brandon Backey threw 200 innings that year. Pitched real well in the playoffs for us. We had a good bullpen. Lidge was at the end of it. We had Jack Qualls, and a middle guy, and Wheeler. We felt like I said, you give us some runs, we were going to win the game. and just came up short. Seemed like every time, but White Sox had a great team that year. They had 4 guys that was good big league starters with Contreras and Burley and those guys. But in our head, we thought we thought this was going to be a 2 or 3 year run. The next year, it seemed like we started kind of dropping some guys, some core guys that came up together. We traded off some people here and there, and just never got back. And 06 was kind of the last year that we had the 3 guys. Andy and Roger left in 07, and then we was kind of piecing everything together after that, trying to get back, and it just kind of started going snowballing a little bit until they traded off everyone.
So, Roy, before we continue, because we do have at least a question about your tractor, just to let you know, I purchased a couple tractor shirts, by the way. I was hoping they would get here before the show aired, but I didn't think that far in advance. But we do want to talk about something. It is called it is your own line of bourbon. It is the Houston 44. It's a pour over old fashioned, currently available in locations throughout Houston, Dallas, and your hometown, Starkville, Mississippi. It's a better version of On the Rocks. Tell us about your Houston 44, Roy.
So I started a restaurant here that's called 44 Prime. It's a steakhouse here in town. We opened about 3 years ago. Here in Starkville, there's no prime steakhouses. We have a lot of medium line, type restaurants. So I wanted to do something a little different for the people here. This is my hometown. And so I built this steakhouse. The bartender I had at the time said, hey, I told him, I said, I want to make my own personal drink. I said, I like old fashions. I like certain ones. I don't like all of them. Some of them taste chemically to me. I want this to be all natural tasting and not taste like you're drinking chemical. So we put together, we went through it 4, 5, 6 different times. And I wanted to, my whole thing was with it is to, every bourbon drinker that you talk to, they talk about the vanilla notes in it, the caramel notes in it, what you taste after you drink it, what leaves in your mouth and stuff like that. So what I did with mine, I actually escalated the caramel taste and the vanilla taste. So when you drink it, you can really taste it. It's a 75 proof bourbon. I went to a bourbon distillery and actually tried a lot of bourbon, more than I needed.
And we had a driver.
Yeah, the thing about bourbon, like when you test a bourbon, after you drink 2 or 3 of them, all start tasting the same. So you got to limit your days. You can go, 3 or 4 days in a row that you can taste 2 or 3, and then you got to wait, a couple of hours and then taste some more or whatever. So I found a really good bourbon that I like. And so after that, I didn't realize this, but, bourbon takes 7 years to make. So you just can't go out there tomorrow and say, hey, I'm going to make a bourbon and start, selling bourbon. It takes 7 years to age. So most people has already bought all the bourbon from 7 years ago. So you're trying to find a bourbon that you like. And once you find that, they give you the names of people that own the barrels. So I found the one I like. I found the guy that owns the barrels, and I started putting my pre-mix together as far as my old fashioned. And it was my number 1 seller at my restaurant for 2 years straight. And I started bottling it because people liked it so much. And we did a 5,000 bottle run my first year, and we sold it in 3 months. And we just did a 30,000 bottle run, and it's starting to take off pretty well. I just got out in Houston probably 6 months ago, and I'm trying to get it in more stores there and then get into some restaurants. Landry's has helped me a little bit get in some of their restaurants since they sponsor the Astros. And then the Astros has helped me a little bit, get some names of people that I can talk to as far as restaurants and stuff around the stadium and get it in there. I've got it in the Weston across the street from the stadium. And then I got it in a lot of Specs and a lot of Total Wine.
Cool.
My fiance just said she wants to come to your restaurant and try some of that bourbon, but definitely something we'll have to do. But everybody wants to know, do you still have the tractor?
Most definitely. I'll probably use, like I told someone before, they always ask, why don't you ask for a car or why don't you ask for this? I'm like, do you not know how much I use this thing? This thing has saved me so much money. It's unbelievable. I grew up, my dad was a logger, so I've been around heavy equipment all my life. So when I go to build something, homes or storages or whatever, I use this thing for all of this, so, instead of paying somebody, whatever, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 to come in, clear off an acre or whatever, I go do it myself. And that's like $30,000 in my pocket because I can do it myself. So I still have it. It's parked under the shed. I need to redo the stickers. They're fading a little bit, but it still has the Astros and it still has my number on the back. So.
All right. That's awesome. Like, I know that was awesome that Drayden McClain did that for you back then. But I know that you've come on social media recently and made a couple comments, and a lot of people agree with you. One of them was the Astros should re-sign Alex Bregman. The other one was that you're not happy with the way baseball is going with the opener situation. Do you want to go ahead and address those two comments?
Yeah. The reason I said with Bregman is because I saw the core group when I was there, leave after we had a great run for a couple of years. And it's hard to get a core group of guys like they have. I think I said this about 5 years ago or 6 years ago. This could be a dynasty with the people they have in place. With Altuve, Bregman, those type of guys don't come around very often. And when they added Alvarez, that just helped that much more, putting that much power in the lineup. Even though I let him borrow my number, I'm gonna let him keep borrowing it if he keeps hitting home runs. But those core guys, it's hard to get those core guys together and carry a team the way they can carry a team. And Bregman's was one of those guys. You lose a guy like that, it's hard to replace him. Even though you go get another guy from another team that may have better numbers, maybe, he's not one of the core guys. And coming in from a different team or coming in from a different organization sometimes does not fit with what you already have. So sometimes it's better to pay a little bit more to keep your homegrown talent in town than try to go get someone somewhere else, because clubhouse chemistry means a lot. I know a lot of people don't believe that, but it does. When you come up together and you're rooting for each other, it means so much when you get into the game, instead of guys that's kind of, been on the other side of it. And that's one of the reasons I made that comment about Bregman. I think he's a great player. I think he's got a lot of years left in his legs and his body to be able to provide, what you need at third base. I think there's some holes that you can fill here and there that would help. And I think, if you go out and get another starting pitcher, that's a guy that eat up innings, that can throw 200 innings, you're going to take that much more pressure off a bullpen that is not as stacked as it used to be, with Bregman, I think he's a core guy you need to bring back to supplement Altuve in that middle infield,
No, yeah, definitely. And, one of his key contributions, I think, became known this year was how much he talked to the young pitchers, the Hunter Browns, the Spencer Arrighettis, when they were on the mound. And I'm sure you guys had guys like that, Biggio, Bagwell, your veterans out there. Osmus was a general behind the plate. But I have some Roy Oswalt trivia to ask you. Do you know who the first team that you got your first double-digit strikeout game against, and in the second start against them, you had a 6-inning shutout. You had a 12 strikeout shutout against the same team. Do you remember what team that was against?
Milwaukee.
Yes, Milwaukee. Very good. I was going to give you a hint. I was going to say Alex Bregman accused Bud Selig of extortion and was fined because of them.
Yeah. I remember some of that. I remember a game I did throw against, I think it was Milwaukee, or it may have been San Francisco. It was like an hour and 50 minutes.
Wow.
It was a quick game. I think it was actually it may have been the Giants. It may have been against Sidney Passon. He was on the other side pitching, and he threw a lot of sinkers, and we got a lot of quick outs also. So it went by pretty quick.
Now, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have a question. I was going to ask you which seasons you won 20 games, but I think you already mentioned that. Do you remember which season you had one of the lowest ERAs in the National League?
Well, I know I won the ERA title in 06.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
06, yes.
Yeah.
298.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, I was just looking through this. Do you remember how many errors you committed?
I'm going to say 3.
It was 9.
Really?
Yeah, it was 9. It was 9 over 2,245 innings pitched. I think that's pretty good.
Not too bad. Yeah.
I mean, not
Pitchers
too bad.
don't remember their errors. Come on.
I'm gonna
I know.
throw that on Lance over there missing the ball at first base. It probably cost me.
Probably on
Yeah.
Big Puma, right? What do you think about Ohtani? I mean, this guy is just out of this world, can do it all. I mean, is that just how impressive is that as a former big league pitcher that had great success?
You know, I've said this to a couple of guys around here. He's a modern day Babe Ruth of baseball right now. I mean, what he's doing is not only unbelievable. You don't understand how hard that is to do, to be able to pitch the way he's pitching and also hit the way he's hitting. To do it both at that level is unbelievable. You know, it takes so much out of your body to be able to pitch, 7, 8 innings. And then for him to come back and hit 4 days and have to concentrate on, studying pitchers, what he's going to do as far as at bats, how he's going to approach, and then also get yourself ready mentally to pitch on the 5th day. I don't know how he does it, honestly. It's just amazing to watch him. I love his demeanor on the mound. I love the way he acts on the field. Far as he's a real humble guy, you can tell. He has fun when he's out there on the field, but he never shows anyone up. That's one thing that baseball's kind of got away with a lot lately is they're put on a lot of show, with home runs and different things, pitching, and you're going to do a dance or whatever, and kind of got away from, the game. And I hate that part, of the game. A lot of fans like that. They want to see, you do some type of TikTok dance on the field before you come off. But older players like me, it's about the team. It's not about you standing out there and you're trying to individualize yourself, by doing whatever you're going to do. Let's think about the team. And I see that from him. He'll hit a home run, and yes, it's going to be a big home run, but you don't see him show up people. You don't see him show up the pitcher. Same thing when he's pitching. If he gets a big strikeout, he may pump his fist or whatever, but he's not doing a Cinderella dance off the field.
Well, I'll tell you this real quick. I want to ask you about. I have a fan that's asking about your favorite uniform. I believe it was Terry Poole told us that he was sitting in the dugout, and Lenny Dykstra hit a leadoff home run in the Astrodome, and Nolan Ryan was pitching the next night, and he said that what's going to end. Tomorrow night. They said Nolan put one right between his rib cage, and he said he kind of took like a little flinch towards Nolan, and Nolan kind of nodded. He said when Nolan tilted his head a certain way, you knew. And he said Lenny looked at him. He said from that point on, he respected him. He said he hit home runs against us, but he always like ran as fast as he could around the base. Anytime he dug in against Nolan, he's throwing inside. So yeah, the game is different. It's changed. I mean, let's kind of wrap it up here. Like, what do you like all these rule changes, the bigger bases, luckily in the playoffs, they don't have the runner on second, the dead man walking, the Manfred man, the ghost runner, whatever you want to call it. I mean, I know Mike Stanton hates it. What do you like these new rules? My response always is, what good is it for the game? Is that how you see it, or?
I can, there's a few that I do kind of like that they have changed. As far as the pitch clock, to me, needed to be there. I don't in the playoffs. I don't want it to dictate a game in the playoffs, but the regular season, there was guys taking so long to throw the ball that, games was lasting 4.5, 5 hours in American League. When I played with the Rangers, it was unbelievable. You're sitting in a dugout sometime at 11:30 at 12 o'clock at night, and this guy is walking around the mound thinking about what he's going to throw every pitch. It just didn't make any sense. So I like that part of the game. I like this, I was a guy that my attention span wasn't very long, so I had to get the ball and throw it. So I worked fast. But there's other parts of the game I think you should leave alone. The bigger bases, how is that fair to Ricky Henderson?
Right.
I'm saying, just guys that have done it the other way, how's that fair to them? And I know the game's changed over time. I know they lowered the mound from which Bob Gibson pitched, and, they're saying, this and that. So I know rules has changed, but there's sometimes the game is a great game. Why are we changing it? You know what I'm saying? Like, why are we? And a lot of it is trying to make more offense. They're saying that people come watch more games if there are more home runs and there are more runs scored. But if you can't appreciate the way the game is made, then you shouldn't come to the game the way I look at it, because this game, the way this thing is designed with the 90 feet between the bases and everything, how everything is so precise. You hit a ground ball to shortstop, it seems like it's one step every time before he gets to, first. Or it's, inches here and there, where they're trying to, create more offense by bigger bases, different things like that. And you only can pick the first 3 times. I mean, well, hell, on the 4th time, damn well, you can go. He's not going to pick over there, and it's crazy rules like that just kind of, I don't like it all. But like I said, there's a couple of things that I did like they changed as far as the time. That doesn't affect the game once when the ball's pitched. I don't like the things that affects the game once the ball leaves the pitcher's hand.
All right, Roy Oswalt, we heard about your process to making it to the big leagues. We heard about the playoff experience. What everybody really wants to know is, how did you end up pitching for Savannah Bananas?
Oh man, that was fun. I thought that was a lot of fun. Me and Jake Peavy and I, we're real good friends. We've known each other since, I think it was 2004. We met each other in the All-Star game, and he lived in Alabama. He don't live 4 hours from me, so we hunted together. We've known each other for a long time. He and the owner of the Savannah Bananas are real close, and the first major league stadium was going to be Houston.
Yeah.
And so Jake said, "Hey, I got the perfect guy that could throw. Let me call him." So Jake calls me up and said, "Hey, this guy would love for you to come throw, maybe an out or an inning or whatever you can do." I said, "Man, I haven't picked up a baseball in about 6 years now." I did throw a couple of innings for in Kansas for the Bluegrass World Series.
Okay.
I threw a couple of innings, but that was 6 years ago. So I said, "Hey, let me try it." So I went through 2 bullpens at my high school down the road, and they said, "You're only going to have to get 1 out." I said, "Well, I'm going to go ahead and try to throw like 2 or 3 innings just in case something happens. I don't want you to have to pull me out of the game." But it was fun. First batter, 2 pitches, I'm thinking, yes, I'm out of that thing, and we had an error. And oh man, then next thing I know, I got 3 pitches and we got another error. I'm like, oh God, I throw three batters already. So I ended up getting out of it with a strikeout on a guy with a curveball. So it worked out well. But it was, man, I'll tell you what he came up with, for what they're doing is awesome for the kids. It's a great family atmosphere. It's fun to go watch. There's something going on all the time. You don't have any dead period. And they're doing a really good job. They're actually coming here to Starkville to play at Duty Noble next year. So I'm sure I'll probably get a call on that one too.
So Roy, I was there.
Actually,
Eric and I were there. We were like, "Oh my God." I was like,
we saw the costume come out, and we were like, "It's got to be Roy Oswalt."
Like, it's got to be Roy Oswalt. We were freaking out. We were loving it. That was the coolest thing. I do have to ask you, since the Yankees extended it, and I know nobody here likes the Yankees. In my house, we root for 2 teams, the Astros and whoever's playing the Yankees. But Garrett Cole's going tonight. and the Yankees have extended the series. And, you never say never. And, and the Yankees are taking a one at bat at a time, one pitch at a time. What do you think about Garrett Cole going tonight? And I mean, that's why New York signed him to the big contract, and he's got the chance to extend the series and send it back to LA.
Yeah, Cole's one of those older guys that's been around the league for a little while now. I think he's probably got 10 or 11 years in now. He's a horse. I mean, he's one of your horses that you throw out there when the game's on the line, and hope he eats up innings, and give the bullpen a little bit of rest. He's got great stuff. He's one of those guys going to challenge people. He goes right at them, and that's what I like about him. I've known him since he pitched with the Pirates. Always liked his demeanor on the mound. He's four-seam guy. Here it is. Try to hit it. We're going to bend it here and there. But I mean, mostly, let's see what you got. And it's going to be, anytime you face Cole, it's going to be a tough uphill battle. The good thing that Dodgers do have in their advantage is they can play a lot looser than the Yankees can.
True. There's no pressure.
Yeah, there's no pressure when you're up 2 games like they are. They got 1 game to win it all. There's a lot looser atmosphere in the clubhouse, in the dugout, at bats, where the Yankees are going to be pressing a little bit, trying to not do anything wrong, and usually that hurts you a little bit, along the way. But, the Dodgers played really well the last 4 games. They got beat last night, but, they came back after the grand slam, and they made it a ball game at least.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No, they did. Well, Roy, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate your time. I know we went a little bit over the 30 minutes, but I think this is a conversation that our fans have been wanting to hear. And I've been scrolling your Houston44bourbon.com website right there. Look, if you're in Starkville, check out his steakhouse. Look it up. Give him a good review. Go to Yelp, go to Google. I don't know what y'all have there for the restaurant. And if I'm ever in Starkville, Mississippi, I'll hit you up on socials and let you know. I'm sure Eric will do the same. We'd love to come by and maybe have some old fashioned and a steak, right?
Come have a drink with me.
Yes, sir.
All right, guys. Roy Oswalt, thank you for coming on again. Anytime you want to come talk Astros baseball, current Astros, past Astros, you are welcome. This was a blast. So once again, thank you. Guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead, subscribe to us. Make us first listen to Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. Check us out. And Brett, what do we say?
Go Stros.
We'll see you tomorrow.